every day, like I would cry, and I felt isolated, but I knew that I had to keep pushing. I knew that I had to keep going, I had to, I'm dealing with this, but I'm getting on the bus and like talking to myself, and I'm like, you could do this.
Welcome to the podcast, The Whole and Complete Woman, where we provide practical tips and strategies for achieving your health, wealth, and relationship goals and desires. Yes, I said desires because God does not put desires in our heart just to tease us. So it is important to me that you are empowered with the tools and resources to not only fulfill on your goals, but really create a life that you love and create legacy, because the people that come after us, they're really depending on us to pave the way. So I congratulate you for being here. And I hope that today's content will not only help you where you are now, but really help your future self and those that come behind us. And that looks different for everyone, which I love. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. And I'm going to introduce my guest. Today I have Angela here. Hello, Angela.
Hello, Dr. Alicia.
I am so happy to have you here. So Angela began as a client of mine, and she now works on my team. So she is here with us today. She lives in Brooklyn. She says she's a Brooklyn girl. And today we're going to really talk about her health journey and all the things that she's been through. She struggled with weight gain and weight loss throughout her entire life, PCOS, endometriosis. And I mean, she is a wife, she's a godmother, she's a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a lot of us struggle with these things. So I'm so glad to have you here to be able to share your story. Tell us a little bit about you. A little bit more. I guess I've already said some things, but yeah, just tell us a bit about how your journey began.
My health journey began. My health journey I've been dealing with all my life, but my pivot really began about 7 years ago. What happened was I had been putting on more and more weight. And it got to a point where I was tipping the scale at over 500. And
yeah,
in my head, though, I'm like, that's not where you should be. But you're like, oh, I can do this. I can get back. It's all right, But also what you end up doing, or what I ended up doing, let me be specific, is finding ways to cope and to maneuver myself. Right. So one of which was my husband and I worked in the same area. We were both living in Westchester at the time. So he worked, he was a director, a food service director at a school nearby where I worked. And so it was easy where he could take me to work in the morning and he can drop me home and we can go home together in the evening. So that was great. Right. And so I didn't have to worry about getting on the train or the bus to kind of maneuver myself. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm going to make changes, but it's okay. Cause he's my Linus blanket, like from Charlie Brown and Peanuts. So One day my Linus blanket is picking me up from work and he's like, hey, I have some news. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Now, you know me, I am the epitome of encouragement, the person who, hey, is going to be there for you. Let's do this. How do we do this? I want to do this with you. My husband says to me that he got an opportunity to change his position which would allow him to be in a better rank and would allow him to make more money. And anybody else would be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And we would be going into the city and, I'm like, this is going to be exciting for you, but not me. I couldn't think of anything else but how could he have done this to me? How could he have?
Goodness.
How could you rip this from me? How could you betray me? Like it was really like I felt so betrayed by him because he already said to me he had accepted the offer. And I said, but we didn't discuss it. And he's like, I wasn't going to discuss it because I know you wanted to be against it. So he already knew going in how I was going to feel, but he knew also because of where my mindset was at, because of the weight. And I was scared to step out into the world and scared to do so many things. I wasn't going to restaurants, or if I did go to a restaurant, I couldn't fit in the booth. So I wanted to go to restaurants where I could find somewhere to sit, like a regular table and chair, and not have to worry about figuring out how to maneuver myself into the booth that I knew I couldn't get into. So I was so angry. He would come and pick me up, and we weren't talking, and I was like, that's not us. And I remember one day just wanting to go home and cry. And I told him, you don't have to worry about picking me up. I'm going to take a cab home. And I took a cab home, and I got home, and I, took off my clothes, and I took a shower. And I remember just sitting on the bed, just slumped over, like, what am I going to do now? How am I going to get through this? And I remember I was sitting there and tears were streaming down my face. And, you got that ugly cry on and the snot coming down. And I was like, at that point, I didn't even really care what I looked like. And I just remember hearing like a small voice. And for a second, I thought, where's that coming from? And the voice just got louder, a little louder, louder. And it said to me, how could you do this to him? And I was like, excuse me? How could you do that to the person who has been your biggest cheerleader, your biggest fan, your biggest encourager, the person who has stood by you and continues to stand by you through every and anything you have been through? Because also at that point, I had just discovered that I had the complex endometriosis with hyperplasia. And I was just like, I had to go in for a DNC and all that stuff. So I've got all this pressure on my shoulders. I'm not sure which way I'm going. And then you're telling me that we're supposed to pivot and change. And you're just telling me you have to do it. So I was like, I was mad because I was mad at this voice for telling me this. And then I remember being like, you know what? You're right. But not only to do this to him, but do this to myself. Because I had become so dependent on him. He was my Linus blanket, like I said, that I no longer knew who I was. And that was never me. So, not that you're supposed to bargain with the Lord, but I said to God, I was like, if you can just help see me through this going to the doctors and all this, I said, if we can make it out sunny side up, I said, I will start making the changes to do better for myself and for him. And I came out and because they send your stuff to labs, because at first they saw abnormalities. And then, of course, you're like, oh, could that be cancer? But when they did it again, they were like, nope, you're good. And I was like, all right. So I took a little break, and I said, in July, I made the call to start looking into bariatric surgery, which was huge and scary. But if you need help, you need help. And I think the scale stopped working at 535 or 540, but I think I hit 550 because when I did, sometimes we had this thing at work where they would weigh you and, for something or the other, health day or whatever. And I saw that and I was like, oh no, this is not okay. And I decided I would start making that journey. And that journey took me places. I'm sorry. Because when you're doing or getting ready to do bariatric surgery, it's like a list of things you have to go through, one of which is going to see a psychiatrist. And I remember every day, like I would cry, and I felt isolated, but I knew that I had to keep pushing. I knew that I had to keep going, you know. I'm dealing with this, but I'm getting on the bus and like talking to myself, and I'm like, you could do this. You're going to get there. It's not going to be the same all the time. It's not going to be the same. You'll see the changes. Look, and then somebody told me, hey, why don't you look at Instagram? Because I'm never a social media person. And I remember going to Instagram and looking at other people's stories. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. Well, fast forward, that's not exactly how it went. For me, I had like complications and on all of that through the surgery. But I will say, all in all, it was the best decision that I made to take back my independence for me. And then we moved to Brooklyn, moved next door to my parents, which I was super happy about because shortly thereafter, my father got his diagnosis with stomach cancer. So then it was, okay, I got to be here for my family, be here for my dad, be here for my mom. How are we going to pivot through this? All right. What I thought was supposed to be me helping transition him into getting better turned out me helping him transition on to meet his Lord, and my mother transition onto this new life without him, and my sister as well. So in doing so, at the same time, we were going into COVID. At the same time, I'm still transitioning myself with dealing with his death and dealing with getting better. Because people think that you just get off the table and it's miraculous, but it's not. You're always figuring it out. You're always trying to keep pushing forward after you've had surgery. It's a struggle. And, but in the midst of that, I was losing myself and not even realizing it, because my husband was telling me, he's like, babe, you can't, it's not about trying to make her feel happy because you can't change the way your mother feels. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? But yet I wasn't being honest with myself. I was trying to help my sister. I wanted her to feel better, but I really wasn't thinking about how I was feeling. And then I remember I planned this. It was the first Christmas we were going to have without my dad. I got together with my sister-in-law and we planned so that we could all go to Virginia for Christmas. And we went. And I remember my mom, I was so focused on my mom when she came in with my sister, and, I take her stuff and she's putting everything away and doing it. And my sister-in-law walks up to me and she says to me, you can't pour from an empty cup. You know that, right? And I said to her, what are you talking about? And she said it again. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I remember a little further down thinking about it. And I was like, no, you're right. Because I wasn't feeling right. I had already started putting back on the weight. And I kept saying, oh, it's okay. It's 5 pounds. Oh, it's okay. It's 10 pounds. Oh, okay. So I'm not sleeping at night. It's probably still from being up with him all night in the hospital. So I'm still coming down off of that. Oh, and so I had an excuse for everything. But when I really,
so you were kind of minimizing, what was going on. Yeah.
To just kind of cope, just to kind of keep moving, not to deal with what was actually happening to me. And I remember one day we were in bed. And it was one of the nights that I just, sleep a little, wake up. And I went on Instagram and was scrolling through, and I came across this woman, and she was talking, and I was like, okay, who's this lady? And she's talking about her relationship and what she went through with her relationship and her own struggles and with her hormones and stuff. And it said, Dr. Alicia Newsom. And I was like, this is a doctor? Like, for real? Like, on here talking about her struggles? Wait, hold on. Is this a thing?
Putting all the business out there, huh?
She really is putting herself out here. I was like, is this real?
Yeah.
And then I remember you were talking about you were going to be having this free seminar, and you were asking, people you can sign up for free or whatever. I remember talking to my husband and being like, I think I want to sign up. And he's like, maybe you should. And I was like, I don't know. You think? And he's like, yeah, do it. He's like, what can it hurt? It's a free seminar. What's this? You didn't learn anything.
Free.
So I did. I signed up and I listened to you, and I was like, oh my gosh, is anybody else listening? Do they hear? I'm not crazy. Okay, so this is not what it's supposed to be. This is not normal. It is not me still reliving my father being there at night, being up. It's something else is wrong. There is something that is truly wrong with me. I said, okay, all right, sis, I see you. And I remember you were like, if you're interested, we could sign up or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I signed up. And I've been with you.
And here we are.
And here I am, a woman in a woman who is currently reprogramming herself, who is currently rehabilitating herself, mind, body, and soul, spirit, resetting, repairing, doing all the re's that I need to do to be that new me, to find out me, who this Angela is, because that other Angela don't exist no more.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your journey, and I can also feel and see the pain and the struggle of what you were dealing with, and just feeling so uncomfortable, and you're such a vibrant and alive person, but not to be able to demonstrate that on the outside, physically, in the way that you move and the things that you do and the way that you live your life. I just see before you felt really trapped, and
I did
almost suffocated by all the things that were happening in life. So I'm so glad that you went ahead, and hubby said, yeah, go ahead and go to the free webinar. And you did. We had a consultation and we did what we do, Tell me, during that consultation, what were some of your fears, or what were even some of your fears of signing up, if there were anything there? What was your thought process?
I did not want to go back to being that. Sorry.
It's okay.
That lost 500-pound person.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I was trapped. And it's funny, people don't really understand, right? Because a lot of times people think, you just go on a diet and do these things and whatever, but it's more than that. And then you become so trapped within yourself that, the depression is there. You're just trying to figure out ways not to do things. Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to family functions. I remember going to one family function, and I, you had the folding chairs. So I was sitting on the chair, and I didn't feel comfortable on it. And I remember at the time my dad was still alive, and he was sitting on a wooden chair. So I was like, maybe if I get his chair, I'll feel more comfortable. And I remember asking him, Dad, do you mind if we switch chairs? And he's like, why you want to switch the chair? And I was like, no, I just would feel more comfortable in that chair. And he was like, okay, baby. And he switched with me. And I was like, okay, good. So I felt like now, because when you're that heavy, you never really fully put your weight on a chair, like a folding chair, because you're afraid that it'll collapse. So your legs start to hurt. And so I figured by moving into this wooden chair, I would be okay. So I allowed all my weight to go onto the chair. And the chair broke with me on it. A room full of people. And all I wanted to do was I wanted that ground to open up and me to just go down with it. But I couldn't cry. I couldn't get angry. I couldn't do those things, right? I just had to gather myself together. And when everybody's like, oh my God, are you okay? And whatever, I don't really want to fuss, right? Because we shine on the light and I don't really want the light shined on me, but what am I going to do? And I'm like, oh, and then everybody's like, oh, you know, those chairs, they're so old and this and that. And I'm looking and they're like, oh no. And there was a couch. Oh, come sit on the couch instead and this and that or whatever. But I am mortified because I just broke a wooden chair.
Yeah.
And at that point, I said I was never going out again, anywhere, unless I could maybe check for sure that I had some place like a steel chair or something that I feel comfortable to be able to sit in. Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, I'm afraid always of going back to being that. Yeah. I never want to go back there. I never want to not be able to walk because when you become that heavy, your gait changes and walking is difficult. I had to learn to walk again. Walking upstairs, you're walking up like a penguin side by side. And so I never want to do that again. I love being able to take my walks by myself.
Yes. So tell us more about that. So you came in pretty, with a very valid fear of never wanting to go back. And, that was a concern. And then I'm a new doctor. We've only, had our time together on the webinar and, we have our consultation. What was it that had you decide that, okay, yes, I want to do this and move forward?
There was, I have fear also of doctors because I've dealt with so many, and many of them have this this way about them that they're like this God complex, right? Like they're here and you're oh well, you don't need that. I mean, I remember doctors trying to throw bariatric surgery at me before it was even a thought in my head, right? But when I came to you, you were like, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? I never felt like it was just me trying to figure it out. It was a we thing. And you were very much like, okay, well, if I didn't feel right on something, you would be like, okay, so what can we do? What can we do? All right, so you don't like this. Well, we can change that. We can make adjustments. Everything doesn't have to be concrete, right? So I felt like I had a voice. And that's what made me feel confident in wanting to pursue knowing more about how to get better, about learning about my deficiencies, about learning about supplements, about not being afraid to ask you questions because I didn't feel like you were going to judge me like, oh, you don't know that, and that's important. Yeah. That was important to me. And so I had to thank you for that.
Well, I thank you for trusting me and, going on this journey and allowing me to be a part of your journey. So there's a few things I want to ask about. So when we first came together and started working together, your sleep at night, you would wake up 2 a.m. and then your husband would get up at 4 a.m. and you weren't really sleeping well at night. Tell me, what is your sleep like now?
Oh, I'm getting like 6 or 7 hours of sleep now.
I remember once you telling me, like, even when your husband leaves in the morning, like early in the morning, he'll come kiss you goodbye, but you don't even remember now. And before, you would just be up after that.
Yeah. But like now,
like
even
cortisol
now,
levels going.
But now, oh no, like sometimes, here's the thing, like even now he gets up, I'll get up with him, but I can go back to sleep.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Sleep
saying?
is important.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And until you're not getting it, you don't realize how important it is. Until things just aren't working, or you're dragging, and you're like, what is wrong with me?
Now, you have 2 god twins.
I do.
What has it been like for them? Like that they have a whole new godmama.
Oh, they love it.
Tell me what's that been like? What's your energy levels been like? What's it been like to interact with them throughout the week?
Well, when they were born, I was basically just starting with you. So now they're like 2 and 7 months. And it's wonderful because I can do what I wanted to do, which is to be able to move with them, to be able to be on the floor, and to be able to interact. You know, I have another goddaughter. She's 6, and when I was transitioning, you know, I couldn't really do those things for her. So now that I'm older and I play with her and we're on the floor and she's like, Auntie Angie, blah, 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 what are we going to do? And this and that. And I want to try this. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Pick me up. I love you.
And you're down on, you're down on the floor with her, playing with her now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the twins and they want to get on top of Auntie's back. As soon as I get on the floor, forget it. They're on top of me. I'm like, and it feels good to be able to pick them both up at the same time. Because not only, but because of the way we've been working and the encouragement, and I've gotten into weight training, you know, so I've got 2 little ones running to me, and then me first, and I can scoop them both up at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when we would meet during our monthly sessions, you would tell me like you were going up in your weight each and every week, and just how good that felt. To tell me what that's like and how different that is for you to even like go to the gym and confidently work out there.
It feels amazing. And the other thing is, my husband is not my lightness blanket anymore. He is my support partner. We do this together. My husband is down. Joe got to be down like 80 pounds now too.
I love it.
Because we took this journey together, you know, because he has health issues as well, you know, diabetic and stuff like that. But now he's had to have medication, yes, but he's taken back his control as well. And I'm seeing him and I'm like, ew. You know,
okay, now
we stepping it up. I was like, you're mine. It's okay, they can look, but you belong to me. Go home with me, okay? But it's wonderful, you know. It's wonderful to be able to walk into the gym with confidence. I mean, look, I don't want to be like a skinny stick figure. I don't want to be any of that. What I want to be is, I want to be healthy and I want to be strong. And that's what I'm working on, right? I'm still in my and I'm okay. I'll probably be in I personally think you should be in until the day you die. You know, because you're
so what Angela's talking about, tell us a little bit more about your moment. And, you know, and I love that you say that we should probably be in our moment for the rest of our lives. Yeah. So tell us about what is
So for me, is rediscovery, redefining, you know, rehabilitating, resetting. You should be reing all the time. Refocus. Yeah. Right?
Yep. Always looking at life. Absolutely. And where we can be better aligned and 100%. Realign, and, you know, what are the different things that we can continue to grow and learn.
Exactly.
So you brought up your husband. And I'm going to shift gears just a little bit here, because now you are our accountability and support coach within the programs that we have for women. Tell me what husbands are important. Tell me some of the things that you've seen with women and their husbands, and how all of that ties in.
So like, you mean like in general, or like in the program, or?
In general, how you've seen like the support from your husband, or even the things that may be going on in his life, how that may affect your health journey and what's going on with you.
So I've seen,
or what you've seen with our clients as well.
So I'll take it, down the line. So in my journey and just in life, and being exposed to different people, stuff like that. I grew up in a household where my father supported my mom. So it's what I saw. So when I found my person who would, I knew that whoever was going to come into my life and who was going to be there for me was going to be that kind of person. Otherwise you couldn't stay. And Joe has been that and more. He's been that person for me, for my mom, for my sister, and he was that for my dad. And he still stands today. I've seen women who don't even have this much of that. And it's super important to know that you have an accountability partner who's going to walk that walk with you, who isn't just like, oh, you now have to change your eating habits. We have to go gluten-free or whatever. And it's like, I don't want that. Make sure that you make my food and you do all this or whatever. And so you don't feel the support, which then makes you fall back into old habits sometimes. And so, but I've seen the other hand, on the other side, where I've seen women in the program who have amazing partners, who are supportive, who walk the walk with them, who encourage them, and who you see it because you see the benefits of that. When I see my ladies winning, when we have one client who her and her husband are on a pilgrimage across the country, across the United States, feeding the homeless. And her and her husband go out for walks. They go hiking. They take the dog. She's trying to eat this and he's doing the same thing with her. You know what I'm saying? So she is supported in what she is doing.
Yeah. For the women that maybe don't have a spouse or a partner, or maybe that partner isn't supportive, what are some of the things that you do to help them along in this journey?
So what I love about being a support and accountability coach is that I can show up for them. I think I had said to you, one of what I feel my superpowers is my ability to be there for people and be there wholly and solely. If you show up, I show up. And I would like to think any of my ladies, our wonderful clients, feel that way.
Oh, they do. For sure. There is no doubt about it. Angela has your back.
I want to put in, I send little notes. Hey, what's going on? How's the vegetables? Did you get your supplements yet? But not only that, right? Because what's important to me is your family and what's going on with your family adds to your health, right? Or maybe the decline of your health. So if they're talking to me and they're telling me, one client, her husband, his back had an issue, so it kept her up at night. So I'm constantly going to ask about, hey, how's his back doing? We have one client who's maybe her son wasn't feeling so well. So I want to find out, how's your son doing? You know what I'm saying? That's important. So I don't want you to just think that we are just here to throw supplements at you, do the work, do the program. That's not it, right? I want you to know that you are supported on all levels. So like I said, you show up, I show up.
Audience, it sounds like she's now talking to you. I absolutely love having Angela in my practice. And when I used to work with her as a one-on-one client, really the whole time I was thinking, like, I just need to get to a place where I can hire her. I just got to get to a place where I can hire her, because I'm like, she is exactly what the women in our programs need. That support, going to be there, show up for you, cheer you on, cry with you, laugh with you, like all of the things. I, on a daily basis, I'm thankful for you, Angela, and all that you do for the women that we work with, and even in my own life, So it's really been a blessing, like your husband saying, yeah, go ahead and go to the free webinar, You never know where you end up, like how we would have never known, Yeah. And even me, like stepping out and doing like that in general.
I'm in my calling.
Yes. Yes. You are for sure in your calling. And that's always one of my goals with people, is helping them align with their purpose and their goals. And we do that with the women that we work with, really helping them discover that for themselves and get in alignment. It seems like a task sometimes of like an unexpected task, because I think sometimes people just expect your doctor to just tell you, okay, well, you need to do this, take these supplements, do this exercise, do that thing. And, we talk about all of those things, but it's really the whole life that is so important, and us getting in line with our goals.
You're
one of the things
correct.
that I, with the top 5 goals, when women discover what that is for themselves through the process we take them through their personal goals and their worksheet, really, it makes it easier to say no to things, because it's like, oh, wait, this isn't one of my goals, and it's like, and then if you find yourself saying yes to things, then you're like, well, maybe do I need to reevaluate my goals, or do I actually need to confidently say no over here,
Right.
So back to you though. Tell me about, let's see, what do we want to know about? I know when you came to me, just drinking water was a goal of yours.
Oh my goodness,
so tell me about that. Tell me about your water. Tell me about your other things that you enjoy drinking. Let's hear about it.
So with the water thing, I loved water. I always loved water. But then when I had, after I had the bariatric surgery, water became a struggle because it never tasted right. And I was just like, why? And then right after you come off, they want you to be taking water, but you have to be taking like a certain amount all the time. And I was just like, why are you forcing this down my throat? This tastes horrible. And then I wasn't doing it correctly. And then I had all the complications, and I ended up being severely dehydrated. They wanted to put me back in the hospital. I was like, absolutely not. So they they took me to the infusion center, and they were like, they gave me like, those big fluid bags that have like potassium and all this stuff like that. I was there for like a whole day taking 2 of those. And they were like, oh, wow, if you come back here, we're going to put you in the hospital. I was like, okay, fine. But it was a struggle.
So did you start drinking? When did you start drinking the soda?
To be honest with you, the soda started when my dad died. That was my drug of choice.
Okay.
So like, some people do other things. Mine was soda. That was the thing that quieted the noise in me. That's the thing that I felt maybe like de-stressed me. But it was counterproductive. It was counteractive, but it didn't matter.
So you really giving up soda was a really big
Oh my
thing
God, it was
then, because it
huge.
was also a big coping mechanism for
Yeah, it
you as
was.
well.
It was. It was a
Yeah,
huge coping mechanism. And so
tell us a little bit about that process.
You and my husband, huge in that process. Because I was like, Dr. Alicia, like, I don't want to drink soda anymore. I need help, please. And I would remember when you would text me and be like, hey, Ange, so how many glasses of soda did you have today? And you were like, why don't we try something different? And I remember we went out and I came home and there was a box, an Amazon box. And I was like, I didn't order anything from Amazon. What is this? And so, you're always skeptical, right? Because you're like, this world we live in. But then I was like, does that say Dr. Alicia Newsom? I was like, was there a supplement I was supposed to take? So I opened up the box and I'm like, and of course, I'm a huge baby, right? So I start crying and I've got the ugly cry. I'm like, Joseph, look, she gave me a water bottle. Because we were talking about me wanting to get the water jug, but I wasn't sure what, but I didn't want a big one. I think I wanted a little one because I wanted to start small and everything. And you heard me. And I was like, yep, see, I knew it. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is the woman. This is the doctor. This is who I'm supposed to be working with. I said, because she heard me. And then you also sent me the sodas. Damn, they're not real soda. I forgot the name of them.
Zevia. It's Zevia.
Oh, Zevia?
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so we're going to try this, and I was like, okay. And then I would be filling up my container and taking it everywhere I go. And my husband would just laugh at me. He's like, you and this guy. I was like, yes, this is my container. This is my water jug from Dr. Alicia. Thank you very much. And it rocks with me everywhere I go. It is right now at my, I bring it up at night with water and it's at my bedside.
I love that. Oh,
so yeah,
I love that. What has been, now we have the hormone reset program. And I remember we would meet together and then you had been moving through those lessons. What were some of the biggest takeaways from that you were able to apply to your life?
Wow. So a couple of things. Here's another thing. Stress, and how stress will mess up your hormones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they always say, oh, stress is a killer, da 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 da. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I get it, I understand. But then, like, you don't realize how that affects them in your system. That cortisol, that better, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
How when it came to learning about not just what you're intaking, but what you're putting on your skin, how that affects your hormones, what you're cleaning with. And it was just like, just these bombs going off that I started making Joe crazy, even my mom a little. Because I would be like, yeah, so we're not going to use that anymore. Yeah, we're implementing new stuff, right? Because that is a hormone disruptor. My mother goes, it's a what?
Don't worry, Mom. We've got you handled. Okay, we're just going to switch this product out. Okay, it's going to clean just as good. It's just going to be healthy for the body. Okay.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
That's So those all just very eye-opening, but at the same time trying not to become overwhelmed by it, because then that sends your stress levels up. So
Yep. Well, with our new program, we have with the hormone compass, everything is step by step, week by
yeah,
week. We're going to give you a little bit because, for me, it's always doctor means teacher. So I can
yeah,
for sure overwhelm you with information. It's my favorite thing to talk about. So I can always just pour in and give information, but we've really been able to break it down and make it into a way that like this week we're doing this, next week we're doing this. And for those that like to move through things, because we have clients that like to do that and just zoom through everything, they're still able to do that.
yes,
So for me, it's always important that people, what's the saying where I'm teaching you how to fish,
yes,
versus like just giving
yes,
you the fish, because we
absolutely.
all really have the ability to heal ourselves. My job is to teach, and then, you can take on the information bit by bit, how it works for you, but really be able to apply it to your life because it's really our lifestyle and the things that we're doing every single
Single
day
time.
that determine whether or not we have chronic illness later down the road, and like what it is. I love how much you talk about just being with the kids and, just being able to move and do things
Yeah,
because, people actually might not be living as long anymore, but we want to live long. I think it is right now the first time in a long time where people aren't living as long. The
yeah,
age of death is going down,
yeah.
but there are
Because I
places
think
in
a
the
lot of
world where
people
people
don't
live.
realize
Mhm.
people don't realize, I think, how everything affects you, right? We've already got the
Mhm.
environment affecting you, right? And yes, you're like, okay, well, the things I eat. Yeah, but do you really pay attention?
Yeah. And a lot of times people don't know,
Yeah,
So that's what we're helping with them with
yeah,
is to really know, because it gets hard. Sometimes because I follow a lot of other doctors and health coaches and functional medicine people, I can literally scroll my timeline and back to back. One day I even recorded it. It was like one person's like, don't drink milk, dairy is inflammatory. And then the other person's like, raw dairy is, like it's can be very confusing for people. For me, it's not confusing because I understand what each one of them are saying. And I get
right.
with social media, there's all this like clickbait and to be controversial and to
Yes,
say, kind of be very dogmatic or go to extremes on other different sides and things like fasting is bad, women shouldn't fast, and then it's just like fast like a girl, like there's all these different things, but it really is for women to have, every body has a different body, and they're at a different
yes,
place in their journey. So it's very,
yeah,
it needs to be personalized to what's going on. And,
exactly.
as we always tell our clients, we've got to do the right thing at the right
At the right
time
time.
and in the right way.
Yes.
So, one last question. Just being a Black woman in America and really being able to find healthcare that's appropriate and also where you're receiving competent healthcare solutions. Tell me a bit about your journey, what that's looked like, and then what it's looked like also working with us, um, with our practice as a client.
So it's been difficult, especially when it comes to, I think, gynecology,
Mm.
because they want to put you in a box and they want to judge you based on before they even get to know you or know what are the things that are bothering you. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I've been having, I'm bleeding a lot. Oh, you have this. Da, 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 da. Yeah, but you haven't heard everything I'm telling you yet. Oh, before I'm trying to tell you this is what I spoke with the last doctor about. Oh, did your doctor talk to you about having bariatric surgery? Because you before we would want to do where they remove your tubes and stuff. But before we could do that, we would have to be able to. You have too much weight in the area, but you're not listening to me. You're not dialoguing. you're throwing stuff at me and seeing what'll stick.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to take that. I'm not that person. So you literally find yourself fighting and advocating for yourself at levels where you think sometimes maybe you're a little crazy, because you're like, how are you not listening? How aren't you listening to me? And it's at that level. I have a friend who went through so much to have her daughter, and they weren't listening, and her journey through that, and almost her and her daughter, her baby, dying because you weren't listening. I have another friend who was having her, and she keeps telling them, I'm having contractions. And they're like, oh, well, we put the monitor on and the monitor's not saying anything. I don't care what your monitor is or isn't saying. I'm telling you, it's my body. Only to find out when her doctor does come in the room, she tells her doctor, I'm having contractions. The doctor takes a look. Why didn't you guys? Da, 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 da. She's in labor. Turns out the monitor wasn't working. All these stigmas are attached to Black women. They're strong, they can take it. Or we're, or some people are like, oh, they just want the drugs, because the Black people and things like that. And you're like, that ain't it. Just listen to us, work with us. It is our bodies. We're the ones who are experiencing it. Don't become so desensitized because you've seen thousands of cases and maybe many of them look the same. Mine could be the one that's not.
Yep. Absolutely. Slowing down and paying attention to what's going on and what's actually needed in that situation is so important. And oftentimes it can, unfortunately, result in someone dying.
Yeah. And how many times have we seen that?
Too many. Too many times. So, Angela, give one piece of advice of what, if someone is on the fence, let's say working with us or working with me, what would be one piece of advice that you would give them?
Are on the fence about coming to work with us? Take the leap.
Just keep it simple, huh?
It's really that simple, because you're not just finding a doctor or a team that is just who just wants to put a little Band-Aid on a gaping wound. You're finding a doctor who wants to get to the root cause of what is going on with you. To mend from the root cause then you're like, oh, okay, now I can feel better. I attest to that. I'm sleeping. Not only that, but not to be gross, but I'm pooping, because we had a problem with that too.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the poop. Oh, my goodness.
Huge problem with that.
Yes, so many women that come to us are not pooping, and they're not. And you should really be having 1 to 3, preferably 2 to 3 good bowel movements every day. How often were you pooping when you came to us?
Maybe once a week, twice a week.
Yeah.
And they weren't even good, because they were like diarrhea.
Yep. A lot of people will switch back and forth between diarrhea and constipation, or they just stay constipated. But when our bodies are not doing that, that is a major area of our system, our body, for detoxification. So we've got to get women pooping.
Yes.
And that's one of the first things that, depending on what a woman needs, that we're going to work on when they come in, is getting that pooping going. And especially when it comes to these types of issues, because we work with women in the Black and Brown community, we deal with a lot of women that have fibroids and those types of things. Yes. And I always find they're not pooping. Fibroids, endometriosis, ovarian cyst, all of those types of things are estrogen dominant diseases or diagnoses. And issues with the gut and estrogen being reabsorbed into the bloodstream is a major issue that can create estrogen dominance, along with there's 4 other things. That's not what this podcast episode is about, but it's really important to look at and address those things. So yeah, thank you for sharing about your poop.
But I also want to say, you're going to deal with a team who's going to listen. You're going to deal with a doctor who isn't going to look at you and think, oh, it's okay. Oh, that's just, life changes or something like that. Because you're not crazy.
Yep.
A lot of the times you go into these doctors and they want to try and make you feel like you're the nut job. Like you don't know what you're talking about. I live with this body. So I know that something is off. I may not know the terminology. I might not know all the connecting parts, but I know that I'm not okay. Believe me.
Yeah.
But we are a team that's gonna work with you. She is a doctor who is going to help you get to your root, put you on the path, and we're going to hold you accountable to get there. Now, I'm not saying you're going to spend years with us. But if we get you on the path and you're on the path and you know how to make the decisions, the right decisions, you will go far.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Angela, for being here.
Thank you.
I know that for me, when I made that call, when I made the decision, okay, it's time to hire someone, you were the person that I was like, oh, it's got to be Angela. And to be able to call you and then, make the request, make the job offer, all of those things. I mean, I was ecstatic to do that. And I just thank you for saying yes to that. I thank you for being here on this podcast today and being so vulnerable, sharing your journey, your hurts, your pains, your uncomfortability, the times in your life when you have felt trapped and hopeless. There's a lot of women that feel this way. I was reading an article the other day that the highest rate of suicide is for women between the ages of 45 and 55. And that's a big age group of women that we work with. And it's important. I have had the experiences as well of feeling completely hopeless and alone. And I thank you for being here with me on this journey, as we're launching this podcast and we're in our first few episodes. And as we're always creating new things and programs for our clients, you're just right there cheering me along. So always. I thank you so much for being here. Do you have any last words before we close out?
I do. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for, on so many levels, for helping me through my journey, but also helping me by allowing my gifts to shine through and to see that my ability to help people and to help guide them and to help encouragement is a true gift, because sometimes people don't see that, right? They try to minimize, and people have tried to minimize me, but I appreciate you seeing what I can bring to the table and seeing it as something that's worth being there with you. I'm grateful to be at your table and to take this journey with you. And we're going far, sis.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. To our listeners, thank you so much for listening. And if you want to hear more from us and our guest experts on topics like love, health, wealth, and career, we've got you covered. So if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or another streaming service, go ahead and follow us. And I promise you, you won't regret it. So it really helps us out if you get the word out about this podcast, sharing the information. And as always, it is my goal to create community and connection amongst us women. So sharing this podcast is part of that. Subscribe, like, and share with a woman who may find this helpful.